Okay. Hi. Yeah. Thanks for your patience. Oh, okay. So hi, my name is Justin An. I'm a co-founder and of Quidli. Uh, I'll talk a little bit more about what we do at Quidli a little later into the talk, but basically to give you a quick idea right now, um, what we present to our users, we provide an app for users to share blue chip crypto like Bitcoin, Ethereum, with their contributors, with their communities through Web2 tools used today. Our bread and butter has up to today has largely been through like Slack and Discord, largely kind of like P2P based, tipping kind of transactions, but happening entirely hosted, not very decentralized. I know that's not so cool for a conference like here, but that's how we've grown. And from a higher level, what we present to people is we're building micro on-ramps that connect better between Web 2 and Web 3. Because I think while most of us here are enthusiasts and we're really excited about the future of blockchain and Web 3, I mean, for your average person, it's still such a bleeding edge, far away kind of concept. And so bridging that gap today, I think, is, for us, our biggest goal. So just a quick intro on me. I'm sure you can tell from the way I'm speaking. I'm from here, but I actually currently live in France. It's the future of France. I'm, as I mentioned, one of the co-founders of Quidli. And my background originally is from, I started in TradFi, working mostly in accountancy. Then I moved on to tech, largely in e-commerce and a few SaaS businesses, and got into crypto not so early, but not so late. I bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, but it was already $800. I didn't do anything with it. I didn't know what to do with it, and only got back in during the ICO boom in 2017. But yeah, that's my background in a nutshell. I tried to, that's an NFT, actually. Oh, that's not an NFT. That's a right-click save, but it's by the pixel portraits, and I try to keep it as approximate as possible to my portrait. So basically, the way we position ourselves are for organizations like companies, projects, communities, and for us, we really believe like tokens play a big role in the future of work. Things I want to establish before we get deeper into the project. We really believe completely out of the realm of crypto, not even thinking about blockchain, not even thinking about like the crypto principles of like decentralization. We believe the future of work is online. It's increasingly online. We believe it's increasingly decentralizing. People can work from anywhere as they're working online, and largely more permissionless. That means no longer necessarily having to work full-time jobs. You can work on projects from like a contributor basis, from a mission basis, from a project basis, and that's increasingly growing. And it's for us, that's the future of work. And up to if you look at workforce demographics today, I think more than 60% of workers out there today are digital natives. They're from millennials up. So more and more people are more internet forward, are interested in more like digital solutions for collaboration and working. And I mean, this is the general direction we're shifting into today. And where crypto and blockchain comes in for us is tokens do enable greater alignment of incentives between all stakeholders. You can see it from a monetary perspective. I mean, the currency part of cryptocurrency, something like Bitcoin or ETH today, is approximately kind of an internet native currency. You can move on to other tokens, like for example on ERC20s, that rely more on kind of like network value, things like sharing the value of the network you're creating together. And then you move into digital assets, things like NFTs, which are more unique, non-fungible. It's another form of value that you can share online with the people who are helping you build whatever you want to build. And ultimately, in the realm of work, what we think will become more and more important is identity. Identity in the form of who you are online, whether you want to be anonymous, or even if you want to be anonymous, you should still be able to kind of verify like the skills you have or who you are in terms of what's necessary for your employer or your the organization you're working with to understand. And I think those are things that we'll see more and more grow, we'll see more and more develop and integrated into the normal kind of future of work, not necessarily from like an entire crypto perspective. So I mean, for us, these are kind of like what would you call them? Cornerstones, or not cornerstones, but they're like the points like we'd want to establish before we start talking more about what we're why we think tokens will play a larger part in the future of work. And so, as I mentioned, the title of this is micro on-ramps, and I think a large kind of challenge that crypto is trying to overcome today is on-ramps today are largely designed. I mean, for better or for worse, they're coming from centralized kind of entities or organizations or tools, and they're largely really designed for exchanges or you know, like whether it's trading like on Kraken or Coinbase, or it's the NFTs like on OpenSea. So I mean, for everyone here, it's kind of like a no-brainer. Yeah, this is like an entry point to the new digital economy. But for people who've never had any kind of exposure, it's like, okay, what do I do if I don't want to trade? If it's not necessarily a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT that I want to buy, like, what is on-ramping getting me? And so, although we're seeing a lot more influx, even from non-whales, even from smaller buy-ins, we're seeing a lot more influx of fiat into crypto. You're not seeing that crypto go into actual decentralized wallets or applications or things like that. It's largely just staying in like centralized exchanges. And I think crypto itself plays a big role in how people, you know, enter the space, kind of understand the space. I think if most of us are frank, well, I don't know, I can't speak for most of us, but I do think the value of a token plays a big part in how we become interested in the space. When I saw Bitcoin pump to 800, I mean, for me, that was like, holy shit! Like, I'd like to get in on that, and that's why I did make the buy. But I think that's kind of a natural transition for most people. If you're kind of transitioning beyond that, you start getting more enthusiastic you're really in it for the tech, and the more you start to dig, you actually are red-pilled. You become someone who starts kind of understanding where decentralization can add value, where ownership of a network can provide more access, can provide more visibility for communities that are not normally that are not normally like well integrated into like kind of institutional tools we're using today, and that's how I think many of us become builders in the space today. I don't think it's any secret that people who enter this space, it times very well with the booms, what do you call it? The booms in prices in 2011, in 2013, in 2017, and now with NFTs at the beginning of 2021. And so for builders, I think tokens have really kind of opened their eyes to like what you can do with digital native money or assets and things like that. But for your average person who's maybe not so interested in kind of who isn't initially interested in crypto beyond the speculation point, the speculation aspect, it's where do you go from here? And I think you see that with the adoption today. With crypto, I think at the end of 2021, it was reported that maybe 4% of the world owns qualifies as like a crypto user, quote unquote, today. But from our friends at Gemini, they tell us the average, at least in the US, the average crypto user is a middle-aged male with fairly decent income, more than 100K plus. And they're largely just using it to trade and exchange and, you know, either boost their savings, hedge kind of like, hedge against inflation, things like that. And so, I mean, really, if we're kind of frank and honest with ourselves, this isn't really the decentralized future that a lot of us are thinking about. This is still very much like a tool for financial speculation, which isn't necessarily a problem, but I think there's a lot more ways that we can make the space accessible, and that goes beyond kind of like there's a lot of talk in the space and crypto Twitter about how dApps need to be more accessible and things like that. But maybe just dApps are a bit further away than most people should be expected to understand today. And I mean, I like these choice kind of quotes about Web3 because the idea is like bridging Web2 to Web3. But I mean, what even is Web3 right now? Like, it's a very nebulous definition. I think those of us here will probably kind of more or less accept the lines of like it's an internet of value. It's no longer just collaboration through open platforms, but it's how to share the value you create together with the people who are helping you create that value. But if we haven't really defined that kind of terminology yet, how do you expect like normal people to get involved? I was going to add a slide, but I didn't for the sake of time. Where, back in 2006, people said the exact same thing about Web 2. Like, what the hell does Web 2 mean? Like, okay, we're talking about open collaboration, but people aren't really collaborating. Things like, but today it's like a no-brainer. Web 2 is Web 2, and so it's not. Web 3 isn't really here yet. So how can we make more attempts? How can we create more opportunities for people to get in on this new digital economy? Hence, for us, we talk about this a lot. Excuse me. For our users, we call these micro incentives, just ways to share value. Our user set tends to be globally distributed teams. That's where the bulk of our users come from today. And we share with them, you can use crypto kind of as non-local micro incentives that you can share any value. It's faster, it's efficient. But more and more, we're shifting towards, we're trying to move towards a term like of micro on-ramping. Today, it is admittedly a hosted solution. It makes it faster for adoption. It makes it faster for our users to kind of get a handle on it, to understand what tokens are. We position it kind of as a crypto layer 2 using Web2 tools. And largely, we've been using it to give people access to what's happening in blockchain. For example, we have a partnership with the Near Foundation where they bestowed with us a grant that we then airdropped to our network of users, and that led to the creation of over 500 Near wallets something that they probably would have not gotten organically, like to a subset of users who would have never kind of checked out the Near blockchain or anything. We were able to still incentivize and kind of bountify the process of, okay, it's still a centralized system, but we can create incentives and we can create rewards for behaviors and values that we want to promote, that we find is valuable to us. And that's pretty much what tokens are anyways in a decentralized network. Our approach today, for our users, they don't interface with the blockchain at all. It's a hosted UI, Postgres, permission, partition database. It's kind of like we design it for like Coinbase for groups, but we take a hub and spoke approach where the web app is kind of the hub, and more we're integrating Web2 tools that you can then create workflows for, create programmability for the distribution of tokens. Today, on the blockchain side, on the blockchain backend, users don't touch it at all. It's just us working with various multi-sigs across various different nodes. We work with them. We're cross-chain. We work on the Bitcoin blockchain. We work on Ethereum. We work on the Near blockchain now. We're also on Cardano, and we're also on the Doge chain. But our users don't interact with they don't face the frictions of dealing with on-chain transactions, and we find for noobs that creates a more that creates a smoother experience, and it streamlines that. I mean, eventually they will off-ramp, and it's not always to a Binance or a Coinbase. We have users asking us about Uniswap. We have users asking us about how do I get into more like dicey kind of liquidity pools, and so if there are ways to kind of share and expose and distribute tokens to a wider set of audience members that aren't your typical kind of degen or like crypto fanatics, I think you will find a more equitable, kind of accessible way to spread the crypto kind of philosophy. As you can see, we initially started off as just a web app from your browser. Traction wasn't so crazy. It was at its peak. It was like, I don't know, like maybe we were on-ramping from fiat to crypto like 2,000 a month USD. When we started the integration, things just skyrocketed. I think people really want to kind of the convenience of doing it, of using it from the tools that you're used to, not having to learn a new decentralized tool, not having to kind of deal with the learning curve of going through with like a wallet like MetaMask, an extension, or even like an Argent smart contract wallet. We saw that Slack for us was a beachhead, and we saw that really on-ramping jumped from like 2K a month to suddenly 10K to 50K then we did 100K, and by the start of the year we did 250K, and it's largely thanks to the convenience of being able to do it from the tools you understand and where you're collaborating with the people who are helping you like build the value you're building. We recently did a Discord integration as well. It's actually powering the Spork DAO Discord. If you're in the ETH Denver Discord server, we're powering the Spork DAO distributions that are happening with Spork token. So our users today are largely non-crypto companies, non-crypto natives. Like I mentioned earlier, they tend to be like globally distributed teams, globally distributed members, where something like if I'm in the US and my colleague is in, I don't know, India or in Korea, I mean, if I want to tip him like 10 US dollars, the entire process of trying to give him 10 US dollars to someone in a country who doesn't have a USD denominated bank is not even worth your time, frankly, with the friction, with the fees. So for globally remote teams, this is a way to say, here, grab a beer on me. Here's 10 bucks in Bitcoin or ETH or something like that. Online communities is somewhere where we've also touched kind of like a sweet spot of good users. In these kind of communities, the idea is to build participation, to build contributions, and internet native value is a great way to kind of build that. We're getting more and more requests to help organizations build their own tokens. It's not something I think today we're sticking with Blue Chip to provide the faster liquidity, faster kind of real value. But I think more and more, as organizations are naturally more decentralizing, people are understanding the value of kind of using tokens to reward and incentivize. Crypto orgs are now starting to use this too. Like I mentioned, Spork DAO is using us. The Near Foundation uses us in their Slack. We're working with iExec to then. iExec is doing more and more bounties and short-term kind of like social media-based tasks with their community, and they're looking for ways to bring more people, not just crypto enthusiasts, but like newbies into their fold. And so they find us as a good compromise to achieve that. Upcoming bridges we're looking at. It's not necessarily the apps that are so much important as like the functionality the apps bring. Contributions, participation are a big thing that people are looking for. Now that we kind of have the P2P aspect of it, people now want to do performance-based or success-based sort of things. So we're looking at collaborative tools like Trello or GitHub, where, for example, where a lot of dev work is being done. Same with participation. Social media-based things are something we get a lot of asks for. I know Twitter has been working more and more in this space with tipping natively from your Twitter accounts. And eventually, we are making a purposeful shift on chain. We already offer yield for users that keep their tokens with us. We plug into Compound, we plug into Y vaults on Yearn, we plug into the different delegator nodes on different chains as well for newer tokens like Near. We do blockchain automation for the on-ramp and off-ramp of tokens using tools like Alchemy and Tatum. We are looking to slowly integrate more new features that do bring value and do teach people more about the benefits of decentralization and using actual crypto tools. We will do sign-in with Ethereum, And eventually, we do hope to be fully on chain, probably looking at a side chain or a layer 2 to kind of keep micro incentives efficient and affordable. So just to close, I really like this slide very much. I think it should give people an appreciation for like the timeline of how adoption and mainstream adoption kind of works. This is actually a timeline of internet browsers. It starts from 1990 when when the early prototypes were built, and then Mosaic was built a few years later. You see the first circle I made, that's Netscape, the commercialization of Mosaic back in, I think, like 93 or 94 or something like that. And this wasn't even a viable commercial browser. It was made free for like all the users possible. I don't know how old most of you guys are here, if you remember using Netscape, Navigator, things like that. Internet Explorer came shortly after that. And the big square I've kind of blocked out there, that's probably, at least in the US context, that's probably when internet became more accessible, when your browser could do, when you weren't forced to use a dial-up modem anymore, there was broadband, you could do things with cache cookies and stuff like that, you could save on applications. That's probably the first kind of mainstreamization of a browser. But you have to wait until like 2008, almost 20 years later, for Chrome to become a thing, which is like the massive force of a web browser today. And for me, I think I find this as a great parallel to think about where we are in crypto, how early we still are, and why like more accessible on-ramps, more accessible browsers, so to speak, are necessary to get more people exposed. So that was my presentation. I hope it was at least entertaining or educational. You can contact me here, or I think, yeah, that's my Twitter. And yeah, thanks for your time.